All right. Okay. We have got coming live from a function somewhere else, almost a Dr. Hovind. How are you, mate?
I am actually at home. It's just we've got a lot on at the moment, and I got to get up early tomorrow. So let's see how all that goes.
That's okay.
Let's do the geological column.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, I didn't actually achieve too many things today, although this week's been fairly productive for my PhD. So I've done more for my PhD than Kent has ever done in his life, I think.
Yes.
Now,
Matthew. Oh my God! Look at that.
Ow! It's like,
wow, that's the best double denim. Like that is the epitome of double denim. That is right.
It's double denim. It's double denim.
Oh God, that's
fucking wrong.
He doesn't muck around with that shit.
No.
All right, we're good. We're ready for some Dr. Hovind. So I'm going to mute myself while this is on so we don't get the echo. But look, realistically, Jen and Matt, you two just, when you want to jump in, you tell me to pause or because I'm just going to be taking
Matt can't, but yeah.
Well, he can say pause. And I can
say pause.
Do I need practice? Like applause?
All right, so give me a best pause. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Bzz. That's perfect. Yeah. This is why you're almost a doctor and Kent isn't. All right, here we go.
Let's go.
Hey, folks, here we are at Dinosaur Adventureland in Lenox, Alabama. This was a gravel pit for years. They dug down about 30 feet of all the gravel, sand, and clay out of here, and they stopped right here at this cliff. You can still see these gravel layers. These layers go all the way to North Carolina,
no, we can't.
100 miles. Why would there be gravel layers? It's gravel, sand, clay. The kids are taught in school that each of the layers of the earth is a different age. The geologic column is one of the biggest lies ever taught in the history of the world. The geologic column does not exist. There's no such thing as a Jurassic age or Triassic or Mississippian. It's all
Mississippian.
All these
yeah, I mean, just stop for a moment. I mean, I know it's not going to get any better, but but I think we all know that's just flat up wrong. Like, I don't even know if we can say that it's incorrect because there is not enough in it to actually say that it even reaches the level of being wrong. It's like saying the sky is purple. It's like, no, try again.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to work out here is he's got the leg up. He's doing the power stance.
That's the power
he'll be doing the at some point during this he'll be doing the professor's cradle, where you hold your hands in the right format in front of your groin so you look like you know what you're talking about.
See,
and he'll be doing competitions, finger wagging.
I wonder if we asked him to name, because he supposedly debunks this all the time, if we asked him to name all of the geologic ages, how many he would actually get through beyond the handful he's already thrown out.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I don't ever remember a Mississippian age for one, but I do have another question. The second picture down, all the way on the right-hand side of his screen there, is that like a big ancient toy or something?
It'll be a tree.
It's an early carving of the BBC.
They always talk about it as trees running through layers, but what they forget is layers form in different ways, and also you get erosion of layers and then rebuild up through the layers. And the reason why we know layers are as they are for what time periods is because we have different ways of dating the various layers, not only with radioactive decay dating, but also from the type of trees and other life that are present. And all of these things line up, so we know it works.
Yeah, but all that dating's fake.
Oh, and here's the other thing too, is that the different layers, not only vertically but horizontally, you can track different environments from. That's how you know that the Grand Canyon could not have been formed in any way that Kent has said it is, because there are environments that you need to be kind of like mud and gentle rain to form fossilized raindrops. If it's a torrent, you won't get it. You've got fossilized footprints. Again, you need very specific conditions. But we know that there are shallow seas and slightly deeper seas, and we can see these seas go in and out along the coast in these environments.
Yep.
None of this you would see if his point of view was correct. Yeah. And the thing is, we can.
And I think Davros is right in the chat that he meant to say Mesozoic and not Mississippi.
Well, hang on. Did he mean to?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe don't give him that much credit.
I said he meant what he should have said. What he was. Of course, he might have actually, just thinking that it was Mississippi because he's a fucking idiot.
This is Kent we're talking about.
I also just noticed down the one under our, J toys. It is such an amazing graphic that I think it's actually meant to be a graph, and they've just done text boxes with a red outline to show slope.
Yeah.
I don't think any of however many hundred or so reports I got to mark this semester for my students, because we're not in the labs and they're online. I don't think I saw anything quite that bad.
Well, I hope you mark them down, because Kent is a real doctor.
Well, the thing is, they made some pretty silly mistakes. Some of them did really well, some of them don't. I mean, that's how it goes. But I don't think I saw anything that stupid. And I saw people miss the graph. Like, the points don't even fit on the graph. I don't know how they managed it, but they did. But yeah, that I have. I know what they're trying to get at, but it's.
There's some poor uni student sitting there at the moment just breaking down in tears because they've gone, I forgot to do that. Holy shit! Oh no, he's the guy marking it.
Oh, that's all. They have all their marks already. They know what, and I've already left comments. Yes, and I'm not giving specifics. I'm very general.
No, I'm joking. All right, well, let's get back to Kent debunking the Geological Column.
Hi. They say the top layer's younger. I say, really? Where did it come from? Every time people come to our tour here, we show them this little jar that I shake up. It always settles out into gravel, sand, clay. Gravel, sand, clay.
Because it's in a jar, you fucking idiot.
Okay. It's not even that, because he's missing the point that the geologic layer doesn't work like that. It doesn't settle into gravel, sand, and gravel, clay, sand. It settles by the type of environment that the world was in at the time. So if you have a lot of volcanic activity, your layer is going to have a lot of volcanic ash in it. So we can tell by the timelines because of the things that happened at particular times when they happened. That's why you've got the K2 boundary, because you've got that layer of iridium within the Earth that could have only come from a giant fucking asteroid colliding into the planet. Because
and on top of that, with that iridium, if it's sorting out by particle size or density, why is the iridium at the K2 boundary where it is?
Because it shouldn't be.
Sorry, I've got to read this one out from Belinda Paul. Gravel, sand, clay, double denim.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Now, I know I'm not as much into science as Jen or almost a Matt, but I understand that there's a big difference between the layers of the Earth and layers in a closed compartment like freaking dumbass is trying to show us here.
Yeah. It is quite amazing, often teaching science.
Unless there's a dome covering the flat Earth, of course.
Well, unless
he brings up that jar, says when I shake it, it always comes out to this level, but then he doesn't shake it to prove it. He just sets it back down and then grabs his picture.
Well, hang on. We are talking about honest Kent Hovind.
Wait, what?
Hello, my name.
That's an oxymoron. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's just the language. Well, that's a foul.
That's for Adventureland, folks.
He's an oxymoron.
Now,
any bet she's going to say water?
Water.
Oh, yeah.
Water.
Should we have a water count?
we can do a water count. We can do a water count.
Drink every time he says water.
Water.
Just got to give everybody a warning.
I'm on my water
to.
tonight.
All right. Should we keep
All
playing?
right, back to the doctor.
Little bitty layers. Now, wait a minute. They tell the kids the layers are different ages. If you shuffle a deck of cards, is the top card younger?
Oh, fuck. No, he didn't just say that, did he?
No.
What?
One of the biggest hoaxes ever.
He just said if you shuffle a deck of cards, is the top one younger?
It was the last one that you placed there, though.
Wow. Fuck. I wonder if that was in his PhD thesis.
Oh my god.
Oh, that is...
All over the world, petrified trees are found standing up,
That's
connecting all the
BBC's.
Well, how long does a dead
Yeah,
tree
those
stand
aren't
for?
trees, Kent.
Latitude in Lennox, 31 degrees.
Well, no, you do get trees that end up in the geological layer like that because...
Sideways moving water at 9.
Now, we do have a super chat from the one and only Godless Scummer. 5 of the Queen's finest pounds. Remember that Simon Dan said he'd debate Kent live on stage if Kent could pass a GCSE science test. Kent wimped out.
Yeah,
Yes,
of course,
he
you
did.
couldn't.
Probably a good call based on this. I don't think you can have-
He also
poly. What are they called? Those trees? Poly something or other.
polystrate, but
Polystrate.
yeah, polystrate
Polystrate.
fossils.
Yeah.
And guess what? The only thing that we've ever found as a polystrate fossil are trees.
Yes.
The things that are known to be able to stay upright for sometimes hundreds of years. There's never been an animal. There's never been a fungus. There's never been anything else except a couple of tree trunks.
Yep.
Good work.
And they can be buried in multiple layers. But generally they happen because a tree dies. It gets partly buried or fully buried. It starts to fossilize, and then you have erosion. But the fossil is tougher than the ground around it, so the tree erodes slower, and then you have it recovered again. So the tree can be in multiple layers because the layers get eroded and put back in. You don't have exactly the same layers all over the world. You have some areas of the world don't have some layers because they've been eroded. Australia is particularly like that because there's so much erosion here, and so little top layers.
Yeah, all our top layers are gone.
Yeah, all our top
we
layers.
haven't had any new layers added for so long. Plus, the Grand Canyon's missing about 1 billion years. Whole east coast of America.
And it's the same thing. You've got areas of the world that don't have some layers because of erosion and things like that. So you get trees like this. But you also get areas where some of those layers were very muddy, and you have big storms, and trees are quite solid compared to mud, and they can be actually jammed into the ground. Or you can have areas where you have mud subsidence underneath, and the tree actually falls down through the ground and then actually falls into the layers. So there's lots of reasons why you can have trees that end up like this in it, and it's never because the layers are fake. If the layers are real, the tree just happened to end up in them because of various different.
Also, you got to remember though, he's a doctor and he taught science for 15 years, so he knows more than you.
High school science, yeah.
One day maybe I'll be able to say I've taught science longer.
I'm waiting to read your thesis just with "Hello, my name is" at the start of it.
Well, based on what
I would actually like to pass. Also, another point with the trees is, and I'm not sure if it's the one that we're looking at there, but there is one very similar to it where it's not just one tree, but it's an entire forest buried under a mountain, where what happened was the trees grew up and then a massive volcano came through, wiped the trees out and buried the bottom parts of them. And then that happened again a few hundred years later. And to get to the sizes of the trees, because you can look at the growth rings, you can look at how long soil takes to recover after those sorts of events. Even if you're generous, I think the age that comes to is something like, is it more? It's like 40,000 years. It's like, I think it's like nearly an order of magnitude older than he thinks the Earth is.
Yeah.
So I don't think he should be pointing at those trees.
No.
In reality, it was like a few 100,000 years to make it at least, but you can be generous and cut some of those years out, and it still doesn't work. Oh, what's the bottom one? I just noticed there's some kind of poorly drawn stegosaur with a quote on it. Has your life ever fallen out from under you? Do what the tree did. Dig in, hold tight, and follow the light.
That's a Kentism. That's a Kentism. Hey, we got a crazy in the chat. I love it.
I removed them.
That was interesting.
You shall all take the $32,000 crypto money to be branded with a barcode. Yes, the barcode of revelation. Omnibar. On the day I turn Mecca to dust. Sure.
Okay.
You die no matter where you are. Ta-ta, lol. That's some Christian love. Thank you.
Was the barcode thing a reference to the vaccine?
Don't give them ideas, but I have heard that. That's the mark of the beast. Yeah, it's just special. All right, so back to the doctor.
100 miles an hour would take all the rocks and roll them against each other like a rock tumbler does, and round them off. All over the world, gravel is rounded.
Does he know what a lake is or a stream?
It was rounded.
And not all gravel is rounded either. Go down it.
Go to North Carolina. If that's a river, that's a big river. 500 miles. All over the world, petrified clams are found. Normally, when you find seashells along the beach, as soon as they die, they open. Well, and you hardly ever find a matched pair. But all over the world, petrified clams.
Can you pause it there for a moment? The fact that they all open when they die is false. Some of them do. Not all species will. It actually, there's a lot of variance in there, but that's just flat out wrong. Sorry.
Absolutely. And I can tell you from my experience as a commercial fisherman, Matt is absolutely correct. There are lots of shellfish that do not open when they die. You can find shells that are closed and shake them up like a little rattle.
Like mussels
I'll tell him categorically, not all gravel is fucking round.
I was going to say, not all the rocks and gravel are round. Most of them are pointed.
You think you would know? It's kind of obvious when you buy.
You only get rounded stones where they were in an area that had fast flowing water. That's the only time you get it. So
what you got to remember with Kent though is, even if Kent knows the stuff he's saying is bullshit, his audience doesn't. He's presenting this to an audience of people who really have no scientific knowledge. That's his market. So you say something in a convincing enough way. With it's like we used to say the continents they never drifted apart. They're all still joined. There's just a layer of water above them. It's just like but people used to sit there and go, oh my goodness, that makes sense. And it's just like, no.
I wonder how much you had to dig through the rocks he's got there to actually find bits of gravel that were smooth.
He probably smoothed them out
the ones behind him don't look. But you know what I like? He keeps talking about being able to spot the layers in the rocks behind him, and to me, it just looks like a mess of stuff that's falling apart.
Yeah. That's mostly a deposit of clay behind you by the looks of things, which is why it was dug out, and it was probably mostly all deposited at one time. So it is the next geological layer is probably quite a bit lower than what they actually dug out, because the quarry only sought to dig out the clay. They wouldn't have dug down into the other layers because there wouldn't have been any point. They just wanted the clay.
All right, let's keep going.
Petrified closed clams. It had to be buried alive quickly. If the water came up 200 feet and at 900 miles an hour, it's going to make a layer of mud 50 feet thick in 10
What's
seconds.
with the weird baby gnome?
It's Kent Hovind.
Wait, a layer of mud 15 feet thick in 10 seconds?
Yeah, because of the global flood, the Noah's flood.
Yeah. We're not even going to go into the problems of the flood and the heat issues and the fact that there isn't enough water on the earth to cover the entire earth. Let's ignore that bit and we'll just deal with this geological bullshit.
It apparently doesn't eat shellfish either, because everybody knows when you get shellfish, it doesn't open up. It's dead.
I am unprepared for this. Give me just a second.
The reality is you are going to have some clams that get fossilized in some areas, and because the geologic conditions were right for them to be buried and to have things, and especially things that lived in rivers and things like that are more likely to have been covered in the silt in the river and then fossilized than if you had something on land like a dinosaur, which is less likely to have got covered unless it was, in the water at the time, or it was flash flooded or whatever else, because that's why we have so few dinosaurs bones, but we get a lot more coastal aquatic animal fossils because they're in the right conditions to get fossilized, which is why you get clam fossils. But that doesn't mean they were fossilized all over the world. His flood would actually screw that up.
He probably doesn't know that, but he doesn't care. This is Kent we're talking about. But anyway, let's continue.
Oh,
The clam beds. They find petrified closed clams on top of Mount Everest, tallest mountain in the world, full of seashells.
Yes, because Mount Everest is an uplift area, and the top and close to the top of it used to be an area that was in a shallow sea. It lifted up because two continents are colliding together, and that was where the coast was, you dumb nut.
Right. Could I just say,
what Jen said.
You would expect to find fossils there.
Give him credit for how much money he puts into his teaching implements here. His little graphics and stuff. It's pretty sad.
But does he understand that some mountains are still, coming up?
He doesn't believe in tectonic plate movements. He doesn't think things are shifting. So I
just want to say I'm pretty sure this is actually being done at his Dinosaur Adventureland, and I'm just looking there, and I'm loving the little free weights there. Kent, he's working on those guns. Way to go, Kenty boy!
I can't get past the patches on that shirt.
They could be for Mr. Peel. I mean, that looks like the right size hut for Mr. Peel to live in, so that could be Mr. Peel's. What do you reckon, Jeff? Are they Mr. Peel's weights?
Oh, man.
Oysters, 14 inches. They find fossilized oysters in the mountains in Peru, 500 of them.
Of course
all
they
bigger
do.
than the world's record.
Yes.
Here's a guy laying on one. There's 11.5-foot oyster found 2 miles above sea level. I think there was a flood.
It's because the Andes are the same.
200 feet at 900 miles an hour. It's going to knock all the trees down and bury them under a layer of mud and form coal.
Yeah, knock them down, not have them standing up.
That's not
like
how
the other one he showed us.
Coal, gravel, coal. Well, that's the tide going back and forth.
Stop.
No.
Coal does not form that quick, you freaking moron.
Most of the coal and oil and other petroleum-like products that we get did not form from the forest. They formed from algae in shallow seas.
Half correct. Coal
yes.
is actually forests, but
Yes.
it comes from the Carboniferous period before any bacteria had evolved that could actually decay it.
Okay.
So pretty much all our coal comes from that, hence why it's called the Carboniferous, because it can, carbon.
Yeah.
Is it carbon bearing? I know it means carbon or something like that. But the oil is a different case. It actually comes from the sea environments where, as Jen was mentioning, is algae and bacteria that used to die and form a mat on the bottom.
Yeah.
But again, before anything evolved that actually decayed it. So that's why we're not going to replenish stocks of either of those in any significant rate compared to what was done in the past or what we're using them. But the other thing too is, I completely forgot. What was the other really stupid thing he said?
Oh,
there was a specific stupid thing,
and I can't remember which stupid thing.
That's right. I've never known a flood that had tides. Anyone?
No.
No.
Nope. Not that I'm aware of. All right.
Let's see the close, because he's probably thinking of how tsunami works, that there'd be big tsunamis and if there was a global flood. But a global flood, the way the biblical thing is, would be a slow rising of thing, not a massive all at once rising of the water. So you wouldn't have a tsunami.
No, well, hang on. You haven't heard the Hovind theory, have you?
Yeah, I have, but the Hovind theory is completely debunkable, so I don't care.
Everything he's saying is completely debunkable.
Yeah, but that's the point. If you're dealing with, if you're talking about tsunamis don't put layers in the same sense as the layers you'd have here. They actually tear off the top layers, and then you get a small amount of layer that comes in over the top, but as the tsunami pulls back out again, it pulls most of that back up. So you actually get more erosion than you get layers put down during a tsunami, because it's so to have layers put down as a geologic layer, it has to happen slowly over time. If it happens quickly, you don't get the layers. This is where he'll talk about the Grand Canyon at some point and how it all happened instantly because of the thing, because of the flood, etc. Because that's what he talks about. But is it called the scratch lands in the US, where they did have a giant glacial flood that tore it out, and he tries to compare that to the Grand Canyon, but it's totally different, because what you can see with that is, instead of a slow erosion over time, is you see a sudden scraping of all the layers all at once, and something that has no pattern to it that like going through. So it's very different, the type of erosion you get in something like, I think they're called the scratch lands. Is that right, Matt? Is it the scratch?
I forget the name. It's always terrible.
Yeah, I think it's called the scratch lands. But if you can remember what it's called, correct me. But that kind of erosion that happens very fast, and it was basically a huge glacial lake. And the at the end of the last ice age, the glacial wall that was holding the water in behind it finally failed. And the billions of tons of water that was
it actually occurred multiple times.
Yeah, but
so it froze and then broke and froze and broke a number of times. So you can actually see individual flood events.
Yeah, and you can see how it ripped up giant boulders and shifted them. And that's not what you see at somewhere like the Grand Canyon. So you know the Grand Canyon took a long time to happen.
It's also not what you see around him either.
Yeah, it's not what you see around him either.
Let us. We've only got about 50 seconds of.
Yeah, let's go in.
Let's power through this sucker.
Change. Noah was in the ark for 880 tidal changes. The water came up, down, in, out, 880 times.
In, out, up,
Didn't make
down.
all these layers in one day, not millions of years.
Up, down with a BBC.
This up a few minutes ago. It's already settling out. Gravel, sand.
You never shook it.
You didn't shake it.
Again, I'd like to point out that tides don't deposit layers. Tides
wait, pause.
There is no.
Just go back. Hit the back arrow. Just 5 seconds.
He wants that jaw.
Yeah. Can we see the lack of layers in the middle there? Just the irony that it hasn't actually. Because
what he's got is a layer of muddy water and all the stuff that he shook up mixed together.
Yep.
Funny that.
Yes, I just like how his own prop proves him wrong.
Yeah,
but his audience doesn't know that.
No, that's the beauty of it. It's oh my god. Oh god. It's painful.
It
is.
But again, as I was saying, hang on, before you go on, tides don't deposit materials on the shore. They erode shorelines. A major problem we have here in Australia is shoreline erosion, and that's because tides erode. They don't deposit new layers.
Yeah, we have that here too.
Yeah, we got that too.
Anyone who has a house right up on the edge of the beach knows why that's not a good long-term investment.
Thing as a geologic column, one of the biggest lies ever taught to kids in school.
Was
During the
anything
Archean era, there's no such thing as an Archean era. This geologic column that they teach is
the
evolutionist. It's number one. It's an absolute lie.
Hang on. No, he does have Mississippian in there.
Oh no.
No, it's a lie. It is actually a. I think it actually is a.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're named because the fossils and the
where they were found, yeah.
And the strata are mainly found in those states.
But he's calling them areas of time.
Yeah, they are. They represent certain parts, but their best representation is generally in those states.
Those, yeah.
Okay. So if we really wanted to, go beyond Jurassic Park as a movie, we could have Pennsylvania Park. It's just Ed chasing people. Yeah, but
you wouldn't
around.
have dinosaurs. You'd have, you'd have.
Yeah,
you're going back to just post-Cambrian sort of time, so you'd have mostly
a couple of
shallow water and
you'd have some big scorpions,
and amphibians. Yeah,
and one dinosaur, at least one dinosaur.
Well, do we have dragonflies by then? Do we have the giant dragonflies by then?
No, not by then. You're not out of the water yet.
I think you need to get to the Permian before you. No, you are. You've got because you do have amphibians and
I think what Chris is trying to get at
maybe
in the Pennsylvanian area you'd have a Grumposaurus Rex.
It was. I was going for the joke and got the science lecture instead, but that's okay because I learned something.
Yeah.
So that's all right. All right, let's finish this off. We've got 8 seconds.
Please put us out of our misery.
Oh no, that's actually it. There you go.
That is
hooray!
good.
We got through it. We did it. I'm so happy for us all.